Alright, got the heads down here. Looking at some other things here, but anyway, the intake seats are pretty far out on the edge. So if you can see the lap mark, it's right on the very edge of the seat there. And over on this side here, it's not even close because it's off center. And the other head, same way, except this one's bigger. So this one here is right out there on the edge also. Yep, get the film where I can see it. Seat's right there by my thumb, it's right out here on the edge. And over here it's way on the inside because this seat's off center too. So you can see that, but that's how it, so this one's a bigger size. This is up to full size, this one's not. So you look on the seat, this one's out on the edge of the valve. This other one, see, it's way on the inside. So different. So, alright, so now we're working on the valve spring stuff. So I already chopped the edge off of here, make room for valve seals. So right now I'm measuring the stall height, coil bind heights. So these are all a .840, this one's 825, this one's 830. So I'll show you how to do that. So there's the two collars and there's the springs. There's the vise right there that we use to compress it. You just compress it down and measure. It's all you do. It's not that hard to do. So let's show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so we got two springs. So here's our collar, or not collar, here's our spring. Got our lower collar and our upper collar. All you do is compress it, measure from the edge of the spring to the edge of the spring. And that's how simple it is. Coil bind means when it quits moving, coil bound. This one's 830. 33, so we'll call this 35. Last one. These are crane valve springs. 830. Okay, so 30 and 35. That's pretty straightforward. Hard to figure that one out. Yeah, calipers. Both calipers over here. So this one was 35. This one was 30. Okay, so I got those laid out in order. Camera's in the wrong spot. So I got those laid out in order right over here, so I don't have to worry about them. Okay, so now what we got to do is figure out the install heights of what we need. Okay, these cams were A-grind, so they're somewhere between 855 and not 8, damn. Between 455 and 475. So on the panhead with more rocker ratio, they should be about 475. On a Chevrolet, they should be 455, something in the area. So all we do is we take our dimensions, and calculate up what we have. So if you take your cam lift, which is 0.475, you add it to your coil bind valve spring, which is 0.840 is our average number, normal number, and you add 50 thou extra for coil bind clearance, plus 0.05, will give you a number 1.365. So that's our minimum coil bind height that we can get away with. So I'm not sure why that's coming up different than I used to get. What did I do wrong? Did something wrong. Yeah, we'll check it again. 0.475 plus 0.05 plus 0.840. 1365. That's because I was figuring more coil. Oh, 880 was the old spring coil binds, which would put you at 405. Yeah, these crane springs are a little bit shorter than the old they used to be. The S&S are more like 880 in that area. So these cranes give you a little more clearance, which makes them easier to put in the motors that don't have room. Okay, so we got 865. I mean 1.365 is our minimum number for coil binds. Okay, one of these springs, one of these valves is real short on the installed height. The other ones are the same. Okay, this one is the front head. This one here is the front. These two should both be rear, which they are. And the intakes now are different sizes than normal. See, they're 100th thou difference. Quick measurement. Get an idea where we're at. You just measure from the bottom of the collar, but the guide rod shoulder to the some part of the valve up there. I usually go off the top keeper groove. Just down a bit lower so you can actually see what I'm doing. So just a generic number real quick. So see, that's roughly around 1.4. Flip this one around. This one here is about 430, 440. That's the exhaust. This one here is around 1.420. And this one over here must be our short one. 1.360, 70-ish area. Okay, so we always do your lowest one first, because you're going to have the most clearance issues with this one. Get back a little further, see better. Okay, so we need to figure out what the coil bind on this is going to be. So you take your lower collar, stick it on there. Get your valve keepers. You can use a little short spring in here if you want to help hold it. A little short spring. Simple. This just makes it easier. These are the thick collars, or thick keepers. It's getting late. Pull them up, make sure they're tight. Okay, now you just measure between your collar. And we're at 1.370-ish 5 area. So this is our worst one. So if I take the spring that gives me an extra 15th thou, we're set. Okay. So this one here, you run no extra clearances on it. You just run it. So what I do is I lay my valves out over here on the table like they go in order. So you got front exhaust, front intake, rear exhaust. So you lay that on the table over there. If you get the camera too close, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so everything I just measured is on the intake. Put that over there. Spring, collars, keep it. That's the valve. Okay, so everything goes over there. That way you don't get lose track where you're at. Okay, now we're going to do the exhaust. So that's this valve here. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this one back in here. I think this was 365 we measured. Yeah, something in that area. So if you get an idea about what it is right now, you can guess what the other one should be. we just saw 4 of the protrusion of the valve is out. So this one's about 430-ish or so, so it's about 50 thou more than the other one. So we go over here and grab some shims. Lots of valve shims. Just measure what these are. This is 60. These are 30s. These are 30s. These are about 15. Okay, so we have a couple boxes, 30, so we'll get rid of one of those. Okay, so we can stack these things in there and come up with what we needed numbers pretty quickly. Go ahead and grab some of those out so they're picking for them. Okay, so now we got everything lined out right here on the table that we need. So now we can just pick out what we need to do the job here. So, okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a 30 and a 15. Now before you put these in, you got to make sure that these will fit inside of your collar. See, these are made extra small to fit in here. So you got to make sure they fit in there correctly. If they don't sit in there flat, you can't use them. Okay, we go over here. Install that on there like that. Pair of keepers. Another collar. You know, make sure your collars don't rock too much on the valve. So you pull up on it and see if you get any rocking clearance. See, it has a little bit of rock to it, not too bad. If you can really rock it back and forth bad, you can't use it. It'll come apart. Okay, so now we measure this again. And this one is now, it's around, it's under 350. So I'm going to pull out the 15. See how much that affects it. It's making a bigger change than it should. At some point I'm going to make me a checking mic. I was looking at that a little earlier, trying to figure out how to make one easily. So I don't have to use my 6-inch scale, which is not as accurate. The spring doesn't always pull up evenly. And I always measure it where the keeper is parted, not off to the side. Helps eliminate some error. These are checking mics. These don't work with Harley collars and keepers. So this doesn't fit in the top. And that don't fit on the bottom. See, it hits on the spring, so it's supposed to sit on this lower edge here. So that doesn't fit either. So these automotive things do not work on Harleys. So I'm going to make it work though. I haven't done it yet. I got time to deal with it today. Okay, so the 15 in there, we are at, hold it straight, we're about 350. Take out the 30, put the 15 in there. Shouldn't even be close to this number, but it seems to be coming in this number. Yeah, see, that's the problem with this deal. Kicked it way up. Okay, we got 365, 370 right now, so we're good. So that puts us right on our number. So So there's a 15th shim. Now we can elect to keep these in there or not, depending on how hard this bike can be driven. If you're not going to drive it hard, you don't have to maximize your spring tension. If you're going to turn it up to 7,000 RPM or better, you better maximize your spring tension. So right now I'm probably going to pull back that 15 because 15 is not enough to worry about. Okay, so I'm going to do an exhaust. I'll put a 30 on this. Keepers. So this bike's going to be getting sold, so we don't know how hard it's going to be driven. Makes it hard to set it up because you don't know what's going to happen. Okay, that's about 1,375, so that's good. That one was a 30,000 shim on that one. And 2 more keepers. Okay. What did we do? We did the intake. That was the exhaust. So slide it over a little bit. Now we're going to do the intake. We'll do a 15 thou shim on this one, just to be different. Make sure it fits on the collar, the guide halfway deep. This one rattles around a little bit, but it's easy how these kibble whites are. They're not dead square flat like they should be. I'm not sure if any of the guides are, most of them aren't. Okay, measure it again. And that one's a little short. It's around 55. That was a 15 thou shim, so I'll just take that out. What would I do with the spring? Measure it again. That's a little bit higher, about 385 area. So I'm good with that. Okay. So we put 40 springs over here. We've got plenty of clearance as we're using shims no matter what. Okay, I don't think I want to push these all the way, so I'm going to go ahead and take the shims away. I'm going to take the 30 away, put a 15 where that one was. And the other two that were 15s, I'm just going to take the shims away and not even put shims in. Don't get another shim. Okay, we didn't have any other shims. We only got one shim now, one 15 thou. That'll loosen up the coil blind a little bit for the be a little bit lighter tension. These are pretty stiff springs, so we're not losing anything. Alright, so now these all can be cleaned up and ready to put together, but before you do that, we got to check our seal clearances here so we know what we got. So looks like the only thing that's going to have a shim on it is going to be the one rear exhaust, which is this one. So all of these need to be cut a little bit, I think. Now when you put the collar on here, the seal's 300 thou tall, and you got to have the room up here for your keeper. Keeper sits flush here, and the collar you see what kind of room you got on these things. I think this bike are going to be alright on it. Okay, so you can't even see the keeper groove, so you have to determine how far the collar is over the valve. So I'm going to put my thumb right on it. Can't do that because I can't get the keepers out. Okay, so we're going to have to measurement here. Somehow I've got to come up with some kind of a number to use. I'm going to come off the edge of the valve right here, just kind of eyeball it. It's not very, oh, I know what I can do. Take the other valve. Lay it in there. It's still an eyeball dimension. That's not very accurate. Alright, we got to come up with something better than that. We have to just do a direct measurement under the motor. So right now we got 700 and about 10 or 15 sticking out of the guide. Put the collar and keepers up on here. Kind of hold it where you need to be at. And measure it again. We had 715. We're a lot shorter. We're down about 350, so we lost 50, 60 thou off our dimensions. Okay, so now we take that number. We got to figure out our valve seal to retainer clearance. The valve seal is going to stick 125 above the guide. Get this thing straight, so I have to hold it at weird angles. So, right now we got 340 above the collar. We have 700 here. We're going to lose 60 or 50. So it's going to put us at 650. The seal is going to be 100 to 150 above. So if you take 150 off of 650, you got 500. And then our the cam is 475. That's 25,000. So we have 25,000 seal to retainer clearance, which is close. It's pushing it. So 50 is better, but we can live with 25. So if I take this guide and shorten it just a little bit, the seal will sit down and further. We'll gain that 25 thou back because we're about 320 sticking up. And we gain our clearances we need. So everybody figure that one out? Okay, so now what we're going to do is go cut these seal guides back like I always do anyway. So right now we're around 450-ish area. We're going to blow these back to 420. And the height here, 420, 425, and that should give us maximum clearance for our seals. So We only got the one shim, that's on the rear exhaust, which is this one, so you can be 15 thou taller on this one. So that's how we're going to measure it. Okay, so let's take these over here. We're going for the machine shop trip. So doing heads is a lot of measurements. No matter what you do, you're doing lots and lots of measurements. Okay, so put the head here, go get some more parts. Okay, so this is our valve seal cutter, valve guide cutter for seal clearance. And that goes in here like this. It cuts the outside of the guide down, and then it'll also shorten the guide when it gets down deep enough. It's got a certain depth between the two carbide cutters here, and it'll go down and cut it. Now, I use this piece of pipe here that I put a radius top on it. That sits down inside the radius of the head in here, like this. It'll self-center like a ball socket, and that allows me to cut this accurately in the drill press. So it makes it easy. Alright, so I'm going to go over here, like that. Dab of oil for the valve guide. Trash can is in the way. Okay, rear exhaust, we don't have to cut much. That'd be this one. Okay, see where I can't see what you're looking at. Okay, so this basically just goes down here like this. And we just go down and do some cutting. Okay. So it cuts the guide. Do your measurement. About 425 on this one, so that's plenty for this one. I'll flip it over and do the other one. I'm going to rock the head back and forth just to kind of center. And that cuts it a little bit. We're about a little bit tall still. Come back, give it a kiss. Good. And we're down about 425-ish, something like that. So that's good enough for this one. Do the same thing on this head. That one's a little bit higher, around 430. pretty good, about 425-ish. Back and measure do the other one. A little extra, not quite enough. That looks pretty good. Get it where you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that worked a good camera. It's hard to videotape what I'm doing. Okay. That's it. Drop the head while I'm trying to watch the camera. That's good. Okay, we got to take our deburr the guide. So we got to use a cast iron bit. The cast iron bit's 90 degrees to the cutting edge right here. And this one here is about a 30 on 70 type offset. So this one doesn't leave a chip, that one does. And I'm trying to break the fin off again. Okay, this here, we just use this to deburr the top of the valve guide so it doesn't get into the stem. Very simple. I'm just going to blow them off. Okay, now the holes are deburred, so we're almost done. Not quite. Next up, head machine. I'll go back over here, head machine. Yeah, right there. Okay, now what I do over here is I take the pilot, these right here, and I run this into the guide hole, or I just cut it, and that'll swedge any sharp edge away. Basically just come in here like this, run it in there a couple times, and pull it out. Yeah, just a little bit lower down, you can see better. Okay. So all we're doing is we're making sure there's no sharp edge sticking out. We'll get in the, scratch up the valve. See, that one didn't want to go in there. Still, you can't see what I'm doing. So it goes in, rotate a couple times, and you pull it out. These pilots are on a taper, so they swedge the metal out, whatever's in there. So. Alright, so that makes sure that the heads are good to go. Now we go back over here. Okay, now, so the review is we have, where's our intake at? So we got our seats cut, got our intake valves, goes in there. These have to be all cleaned yet. So you got chips and stuff in there. So this goes through here. We got our collar goes on here. Got our upper collar goes on here. We measure our installed height. And we got our clearance. And we also measure the seal clearance from here to the retainer to make sure when you got to open the valve up it doesn't nail it. So you did all those measurements. Now the last measurement we got to do, which shouldn't be a problem on this motor, is do your top dead center valve-to-valve clearance check. Now this A-grind cam is a one, on the top dead center lift, it's like 185 to 195 or something like that. 190, 200, 200 thou lift at TD. So all I do is I measure the 6-inch scale, and I go in 200 thou. Or a little extra, doesn't matter. Go over here, look at the same thing, pick a spot to measure from. Let's see, that was at 350, we dropped to a little over, just under 150. So these both have over 200 thou lift. And you look at your valve-to-valve clearance, and if you have 50 or 60 thou there, you're golden. So, panheads have smaller valves than shovel heads, so you don't have the TD clearance issue. If you have a bigger intake valve in there, it would hit the valve, it would get closer. The bigger the valves, the more they hit each other. So in this case, we're golden on both. So I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so at this point, we got everything pretty well measured, checked, and made sure we got clearances on everything. So now what we got to do is got to clean all this stuff up, run it through the clean tank, and then we'll come back and assemble. So we'll do that next.